Yes, welcome back. You're listening to Love Sport Radio. The fan shows are with you now till 10 p.m. It's Jake Watson with you. Now, Andy Lewis, my usual co-host. Do you know what? I'll sod it. It's Jacob Coulshaw with me from the WD18 fan channel.
I was expecting a round of applause then.
No, because you know what? I'll level with you. Earlier on, I was thinking I'm gonna write down like a really funny opener about you not being first choice, looked for second choice, third choice wasn't available, going on the youth side, and I ended up and then I don't even know where I was going with it because I'm not that funny and I didn't give it the necessary thought. But
don't put yourself down, Jake.
Well, look, my comedy. If I write it down and give myself at least 3 hours and then run it past various people and say, look, is this funny, mate? Is okay, but if I just wing it like I just did, it falls pretty flat. So here we are, mate.
Yeah, we're here.
Here we are.
International break. I heard you earlier saying they're always boring. You said this one's boring. They're always boring. However, if events hadn't happened earlier today, it would be a whole lot less boring because, I mean, Harry Kane popping up, what was it, in 85th minute, sparking scenes at Wembley. I haven't seen that in a while. And also, was it Jesse Lingard who got a nice little finish at the back post? Jay Lings. Give it the old J&L like a true fanboy. But no,
Andy wouldn't do that, mate.
No, I know. The door's that way. I need to go. But no, pretty good. Euro Nations Leagues make it a little bit more interesting.
Well, that is the thing. You say usually the international breaks are pretty boring, particularly people who have to make radio every day. We miss the Premier League. We miss it a lot. But I am a bona fide fan of... Why are you laughing at that word? I am a bona fide fan, Jacob, of the UEFA Nations League, and I'm not just saying this because England won. I've been saying this all week. I think it's a really, really good idea.
I think the thing is, with England winning today, I think there's two scenarios. We're happy that we've won, but also happy to see Dejan Lovren in tears at the end of it and getting relegated to Group B.
How many times have I heard that today? The world is obsessed with hating Dejan Lovren, but the thing is, I think he loves it.
Yeah, he does live off it.
Yeah,
he loves it.
You've just taken his bait.
I know. He's getting a lot of attention, isn't he?
But UEFA Nations League, we now go into the playoffs against other teams from Pot B. We finished top of a group, Jacob, with Spain and Croatia.
Unbelievable. Who would have thought that? I mean, to be honest, with England, I think there's a real buzz back, and I don't think who said Gareth Southgate's like a PE teacher. Was it Aaron?
No, it was Aaron.
It was Aaron. Yeah, I knew it wasn't you.
I'm Aaron. I am Gareth's #1 fan.
Yeah, you love him.
His love child.
But I think he's got to take a lot of credit. He's making the Euro Nations League interesting. We did really well at the World Cup, and now everyone's buzzing for the Euros. We're really looking forward to it now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're going to head over to our phone lines straight away. We've already got our first caller this evening, which is brilliant. Sam is on the phone. Sam, good evening. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Do you want to talk about England, Watford, or see another?
I can do a bit of England and Watford if you want. I'll start off with Etienne Capoue. Listen, I wouldn't say he's one of the best midfielders in the league, but the main thing that I've been mainly impressed with this season is that it's a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I don't think Abdoulaye Doucouré has been as good as he was last season. And I think Capoue has largely stepped up and has covered for Doucouré a lot.
Yeah, no, it's something I've heard a few times with, actually, Jacob, when you've been on the phone, and with Andy when he's been sat here. We're all huge fans of Doucouré, delighted when he signed his new contract. Capoue was perhaps a little bit hot and cold at times, but nobody's really doubted his talent. But November this season... Would you agree, Jacob, that Capoue's been better than Doucouré?
Yeah, no, I've said on the phone a number of times that I think Etienne Capoue would be the player that should be scouted by PSG because Doucouré hasn't been at the same level as he was last year. I put out on the socials earlier, Javi Gracia came out with the comment that Etienne Capoue's one of the best central midfielders in the league. Obviously, he's working with him on a day-to-day basis, so he sees his true ability. What I want to ask you, Sam, is... If a big offer did come in for Doucouré, Watford apparently have no intentions of selling Abdoulaye Doucouré in January, but are willing to make a move in the summer. How much would he accept for him in the summer or in January?
Listen, if it's in... I think whichever one it is, I'd accept in the region of 40 to 60 million. Anything above that would be ridiculous. So, listen, I don't think as well, if we lost Doucouré, it wouldn't be... Like, obviously, it would be a massive loss, but we've got plenty to cover. We've got Ben Wilmot coming through, Domingos Quina, Chalobah, obviously, Cleverley's coming back. this is probably one of the best Watford squads in ages, and if Doucouré left, then we're perfectly equipped to move forward anyway.
Another question for you, Sam, is looking ahead to Liverpool next week. Now, Southampton, we played Chalobah and Doucouré alongside each other in the central midfield. Now Capoue back from suspension. Does he come back straight into that slot over Chalobah or even Doucouré? Who would you drop for Capoue? Because I think he's got to come back in. It's a bit like with Chalobah. It's a bit like Roberto Pereira last season. Pereira last season, I think, was very limited because he was very scared of getting injured again for a long period. I think Chalobah looked a lot like that against Southampton. Maybe the start came too soon for him, so I'd bring Capoue back in for Chalobah and start slowly bringing Chalobah back in. Eventually, he'll be starting.
And on the subject of those midfield options, obviously we talk about Capoue, Doucouré and Chalobah. Would it not actually make sense in terms of this Watford model of selling Doucouré if you can get somewhere between 40 and 60 million? Because you're not going to get the same money for Chalobah and Capoue for whatever reason, even though the abilities of the players are fairly similar, that it actually would allow Watford to go off and do more, but it wouldn't actually weaken you that much because of the options you still have in your team. Would you agree with that, Sam, or not?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just something I did disagree with was you said Chalobah would never go for as much as Doucouré. I disagree with that because you're looking at England international who was at Chelsea for so many years. They obviously rated him. A lot of the fans were upset when he left. Once he gets full confidence in himself, fully fit, starting every week, I personally think we're looking at, in today's market, 60 to 70 million pound player when he's fully at it.
Do you see that kind of potential, Jacob?
That's a big...
I have to say, I mean, I think we've seen a lot of Chalobah. He's been around a long time, hasn't he?
Considering his age as well.
Exactly. I mean, he's still a great age, but he's been around a long time. But I have to say, I don't see that elite level footballer with Chalobah. I see a very good footballer, I see a Premier League footballer, but for me I don't even think he's good enough for that England squad. I think the only reason he's in there is because there is a dearth or a lack of quality in terms of defensive midfield options, and Southgate knows who he is. I don't see a £40 million footballer there.
I think I agree with your last comment that he shouldn't be in the England squad at the moment. I think that certainly there's been better midfield players in the Premier League this season. However, I do think at his best Chalobah can be, as Sam said, a £50 million player. He's so elegant on the ball, he's a powerhouse in midfield when he's at it. We didn't see the best of him at Southampton last week, but as Sam will know, last season under Marco Silva we had a couple of games at the start of the season. We played Bournemouth, Southampton away actually, and he was so dominant in the middle of the park. Would you agree, Sam, that on his day he is worth that amount?
I mean, 100%, because again, as you said, his dominant display. I think you can have Doucouré and Capoue together, and Chalobah can do both those jobs at once, if you get me. I think you could play one in the middle with Chalobah by himself, and he could still dominate. I think he's quality. I just think he's not showing faith in himself at the moment in his body, which is understandable. Like, he came back for England and picked up an injury straight away. But eventually personally, I think by January he should be starting, because it'll be interesting as well to see how long Capoue keeps his form up, because while it's not necessarily early days still in the season, he still likes to drop away when it starts raining, snowing, get much colder. It'll be interesting to see how Capoue carries on from this point.
Welcome back, Love Sport Radio, the Watford Fan Show, 7 till 8 p.m. Great tune. That one was out well before you were even born, Jacob.
Sounded good though.
You like it though. And
got my legs stomping.
And even better news this evening, we already have our phone lines full. It must be you, mate.
Oh, mate,
it must be
love
you.
it live.
It must be you. We're going to straight head over to them now. Shane is on the phone. Shane, good evening. Thank you for calling in, mate.
How are you guys? You alright?
We are.
Jacob, how are you, mate?
Hello, Shane.
Yeah, we're really well. What do you want to talk about with it being an international break?
Well, do you know, I'm not really a big fan of the international break, because as Jacob will probably know, I'm a bit more of like a club football kind of guy. Really, I haven't been to Wembley since I think we beat Poland 2-0. Really,
I thought you were going to say since the Take That gig.
Oh God, no. Do you know what, if we're ranking that, I would argue Take That's even lower than English football, than England football, really. But I'll be honest. But no, listen, I think just kind of speaking off what Sam said earlier, I think Chalobah, £40-50 million player, I think that's really, really ambitious. I think as much as I'd love Chalobah to be that kind of player, Bear in mind, we've not seen very much of him. He's still been very injured. I would say, however, when he first started for us, he looked like that. You could tell he'd been at Chelsea. You could tell there's something just a little bit more about him. He had that snap. He had that verve in that midfield. He just got stuff done. It's going to take him a while to get back up to speed. I think personally last week I thought he was actually pretty poor against Southampton. He'll get back into things again. And look, if we're looking ahead, specifically to the game next weekend, I think you've got to put Cleverley in there as well as a shout to start, possibly. Cleverley, Capoue maybe would be my pairing. I think, listen, there's nothing against Doucouré, but I think we've missed Cleverley. I think we've not necessarily missed him by way of his quality, but he had something in that midfield. For me, Capoue's been fantastic, though. Is he one of the best midfielders in the league? I would argue maybe not, but I think he's criminally underrated. I think there are a lot of people that are quite happy to kind of dismiss him and say, he's that Spurs flop and all that. He's done bits for us this season, and he's always been he's been a solid player under Javi, and Javi's kind of really, really changed him for the better, I think.
Shane, what I want to ask you is, you touched on the midfield, Capoue, Doucouré, throw Wilmot in there, we've got Cleverley who's coming back. I think a lot of fans have said that we do probably need another central midfielder because of the amount of injuries we do get in that position. Would you agree with that? And another part to the question is there any other positions that you do think, as we approach the January transfer window, that we need to strengthen?
I don't think we need to strengthen the midfield. I think, you threw in some great names in there. Don't forget Domingos Quina as well, for playing that midfield position. Wilmot, I think, has proven himself. He's shown to be quite a mature guy in there. He's put himself about. He's done very well when he played against Spurs in the League Cup. But I don't think we need to strengthen in the central midfield. Obviously, injuries are a worry, but I think we really should have enough, to be honest. If we're looking ahead to other positions, though, I think striker has to be one for me. Not to say that listen, I think playing two up top, obviously there are good points and there are bad points as well. But for me, I look at Troy, I look at Andre. They're great together, they're great in a partnership, but we don't have that one player that can play up top on his own. I think Success has done well, but I think he can't necessarily do it all the time, really. And I think two up top definitely suits. I think it suits Troy. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised. I think if we were to go back to two up top for Liverpool, Troy and Isaac, I think up top would be my preferred. Would be my preferred pairing there. But you look at the players that we could have got potentially over the summer. We all look at Dortmund every week, and how many goals is Alcacer getting for them? I mean, all right, it's Bundesliga and all that, but he would have been perfect for us.
One that got away, Shane.
One that got away, absolutely. But I'd say striker. I think potentially even bringing in another centre back as well, possibly just someone in there. I mean, look, I've been so impressed with Maps this season. I absolutely love Maps, but Maps, Cabastelle, Cascart for me have done really, really well. I just think Cabastelle, especially on the discipline side of things, I think he can sometimes lose it a little bit. I'm sure it's just a small blip, but I think another strong centre-back in there would do us a lot of good.
And Shane, one last question before we move on to our next call. We're talking about those options in midfield, which is absolutely brilliant to have. But if we're going to sell one, I know it's hypothetical, the best time to do it is in January because we know that the fees are inflated. Would you be tempted to do it now, or do you think that could disrupt and derail a season where you could potentially get in Europa League if you kept the squad together? Would you take Europa League or sell Doucouré for 60 million, basically?
Oh, I'd say, no. I would absolutely take Europa League football.
That's what I wanted to hear.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, look, I think the problem is the question that will be asked: will it derail our season? Yes, I think it absolutely would. I think it would disrupt the flow. I think it would disrupt a lot of other players. Players will start looking around, thinking, "All right, okay, I know that my position is not safe." And Doucouré's done really so well for us. He was our player of the season last year. So I don't think we'll sell him in January. But Sam said, look, if a big offer comes in for him in the summer, we can't do anything about that. And I said this to Jacob before on the channel, and I'll say it again: if Doucouré puts in the effort, he puts in the shift, he doesn't down tools like other individuals. He does the best he can for us. I'll have no problems in selling him for the highest price or to the highest bidder.
Welcome back. You're listening to Love Sport Radio. It's the Watford Fan Show. Jacob Coulshort from the WD18 Watford Fan channel is with me in the studio, but we've got calls flying in this evening, which is absolutely brilliant. Jacob is taking all the credit for it. There must be fans of you.
Thank you, Jake.
So you can come back again if you want. You're making my life so much easier. Well, no, you can share it.
I love you, Andy.
Exactly. Right, Robin's on the phone. He's been waiting. Thank you, Robin. Appreciate you holding on for us. What would you like to speak about tonight, mate?
Well, I'm just getting involved with like the overall debates we've been having about everything. Really, I think on the Capu front, he's been our best midfielder all season. Definitely better than Doucouré, but I wouldn't sell Doucouré in January. You've got to look maybe getting an end of the season price for him if he does want to go for 40 million or more. Like it would be a sort of Richarlison thing in that I think fans would be like, okay, right, we've got our money for him, we're happy to see him go for that sort of money. Anything less I'd feel a bit hard done by. But then going into Liverpool, I was going to suggest, Shane obviously earlier was talking about the normal 4-4-2. Javi hasn't been afraid to change formation sometimes, and he's had 2 weeks now to look at Liverpool, and I think maybe to combat Liverpool best would be to stack the midfield, so you have Deulofeu on one side, Pereira on the other, and then I think why not just throw Capu, Chalobah and Doucouré in the middle? Yeah. What do you guys think of that?
Ooh. Jacob, I'll leave that one to you, man. I'll let them do what they want.
I think that's a good shout, Robin. For Liverpool, I would revert back to the 4-4-2. I think, first off, the impact Deeney made against Southampton was phenomenal, and he has to be rewarded with a start against Liverpool, so I'd revert back to the 4-4-2. I'd start him alongside Io's success up front, and the two players I'd go for in the middle would be... I think Wilmot does deserve a shout. However, I think Capu has to come back in after his suspension, and I would partner him alongside Doucouré only because Nathaniel Chalobah hasn't been firing on all cylinders, particularly in that Southampton game. He didn't look the best. But yeah, really good suggestion, Robin. I think it really does depend on the formation we opt with against Liverpool. We could go all out and go for a 4-3-3, which would mean we could go Doucouré.
But haven't the results been better with a 4-4-2?
Yeah, they have been. I think it depends how Javi wants to approach the game. If he wants to go with a tried and tested 4-4-2, then I wouldn't be surprised with that. But he could go with a 4-3-3 and play Pereira on the left, Deulofeu on the right, and maybe put Io's success back onto the bench and play with Capu, Chalobah and Doucouré in midfield. What do you think of that, Robin?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because obviously Chelsea last season, the famous home game where we won 4-1, he wasn't afraid to switch up the tactics. He went to 3-4-3, I think it was, against Chelsea just because we kind of tried to go for the man-for-man, and it's just like... How do you prepare Adrian Mariappa and Craig Cathcart to deal with Mo Salah and Firmino and Mane? It's a very interesting one. Obviously, the full-back situation, Holebas scored last game, but apart from that, I didn't think he's had a good last two games. I'd like to see Messina come back in. Yeah. But it is very interesting when Holebas does have that Premier League experience, which might come in handy in these sorts of big games.
Super stuff. Robin, we're going to move on. Tim's been waiting on the line as well, another Watford fan. Brilliant things happening tonight with our callers, which is great. I'm not sure if this the last
bit of a Jamaican accent there, Jake.
I'm not sure if the phone... Well, it's funny you say that, because we've just had somebody tweet in from Venezuela who's listening.
Blimey.
Exactly. We are winning.
We are going global,
yes.
Jake.
Tim, where are you from? Are you from Venezuela or Jamaica?
I'm from Watford, mate.
Well,
Watty, good old Watty.
You'll do. What do you want to talk about, mate?
I was thinking about talking about the squad in general. Big factor for me and main theme of the last couple of weeks is inconsistency, We've had games this season, against Tottenham at home, Arsenal away included as well, even though we lost. We've been brilliant, but against Newcastle and Southampton, we've been really poor. And people have been talking about Doucouré today on the line, saying how we wouldn't sell him in January and stuff like that. But for me, our main problem has been our midfield in the last couple of games, and the main weak link for me has been Doucouré. Especially with Capu's absence on Saturday at Southampton. Did Doucouré fill in and do his job? No, not at all. We were completely overrun. So, 40 mil onwards, that's a big old number, that is. If we were to get an offer like that, I'd definitely accept it, to be honest.
Tim, you touched on the inconsistency. It's interesting, actually, because after 12 games, we're on 20 points, we're 7th in the league, and if we can maybe kind of iron out those inconsistencies, we could be, maybe even...
Yeah, no, that's precisely it. I was talking about this to my dad as well, but the thing is you have to factor in our dipping form, which is kind of inevitable, to be honest. We've had starts like this, and it's all brilliant. We're playing well, even you know, we lose games, yet we're still playing well. We've got to draw Southampton, even though we played bad. However, injuries haven't happened that badly yet. We've only had a Kevley out. We've had likes of Jan Matt as well, but I reckon we've got kind of lucky so far. The teams we've been playing, the fixture, schedule of everything. I think that it could still go worse. However, yeah, it could go better depending on our January transfer window. Because I think there's certain areas of the pitch where we're lacking players, we're lacking certain quality. I think a natural goal scorer is what we're missing right now. I think a big bullish centre-back is also what we're missing, because for me, Kabasele doesn't get the job done, and I think Mariappa and Cathcart are just getting on a bit, to be honest. Fullbacks as well, I think Kinko had a brilliant game against Southampton. I think Holebas is also good. You know, you see his stats about how he's been most involved out of all defenders in the Premier League for assists and goals and stuff like that. However, I think if anything, I want to see Messina play a bit more, because when I remember Wolves away, he was absolutely brilliant. So yeah.
And just lastly, Tim, you spoke about the inconsistencies of the season so far. You know, your position is very much boosted still, isn't it, by the really good start you had? But the next four games, Liverpool, Leicester, Man City, Everton. Leicester and Everton on paper, the easier ones, but they're both away from home. Yeah. It's a big test, isn't it? You know, going up towards January, as into where Watford will be by Christmas time.
Yeah, I mean, up until Christmas, we've got a difficult run-in, and our easier games are away from home. You know, if you consider Everton being easy and Leicester away, you know, we never get points at King Power, to be honest. So yeah, we could find ourselves in a month's time having lost 4 on the bounce. You know, that could be how it is. However, you never know what Watford is going to turn up to the match. You know, we've got Man City at home coming up soon as well. We've got Liverpool obviously on Saturday. And if Watford do play and do step it up, you know, the players like Doucouré, who he relied on so much last season, if they step it up also this season against Liverpool, for example, I reckon we're good money for a win, or at least a point. It always just depends, you know, the whole thing about the inconsistency. You never know what Watford's going to turn up, so...
The half-time peanuts were a mistake. Still in my teeth. That was very unprofessional of me.
Love a good peanut, though.
Watch how you say it, mate. It's a very mature show, isn't it?
Oh,
very mature. It is the Watford fan show, and we do talk about football as well.
Not just peanuts.
Not just peanuts, and being bona fide. You liked that word.
I'm not trying to laugh this time.
Well, look, you're maturing. This is what we do. We grow. We grow as people within this hour, and that's what it's all about. We're on till 8 p.m. Watford fans, keep getting involved tonight. It's been great so far. 0208 70 20 558 is the number you need to ring. So before that little break, and before I had the handful of nuts, well, we spoke about naming your player of the season, your most improved, and your young player of the year. I do think it's interesting because the 3 names that you put now may be completely different to actually who ends up getting it at the end of the season. So I know you've got those 3, and also, oh, mate, I'm blind. I can't, and I can't read either. So you're safe.
We've got a few categories down here.
You've added some as well, which I like.
So we've got the the standard Sunday League player of the season, most improved.
Did you ever get that one?
The most improved was basically you were the worst player at the start, and then by the end you were all half decent.
I was proper gutted.
Oh, yeah.
It's embarrassing, isn't it?
What position?
I was a centre half.
Route 1.
No, I'm more of your John Stones. Far too confident.
That is risky at Sunday League.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Hence why I'm now sat here.
So we've got most improved, goal of the season, as you mentioned, and also the unsung hero, someone who gets no praise from the Watford fans.
I prefer unsung as opposed to most improved.
Yeah.
But we'll take all of it. What are your names?
So, player of the season.
And I want a reason.
Okay, player of the season, only one man for it. It's Etienne Capoue. So far he's been phenomenal in the central midfield. I think the one thing, he's actually kind of mixture of the most improved and player of the season, because Etienne Capoue always starts so well for Watford. He'll have a flurry of games. He did it under Mazzari, he did it under Silva. He also did it under Flores, but what we're seeing now is a really matured Etienne Capoue, someone who's managed to stay consistent over the opening period of games, and there's just been some fantastic performances there. The one against Spurs at home stands out, the way he bossed Wanyama in the middle. I think there's just it's a real dominant performance from Capoue, and he's outshining Doucouré, which makes him look even better.
And I like this as the choice because it's perfect for this time of the season, because it'll be really interesting, because you talk about the consistency. Will he keep it up for the entire season? So let's have Capoue as your player of the season right now, but see if he can keep it up. It's a good call. Who's next?
Right, most improved. As I said, Capoue kind of falls into that category, but I didn't want to make it boring, so I've gone for Jose Holebas.
Okay.
He's one of the defenders that's made the most attacking influences on a game, according to Opta stats.
Yeah.
He's been involved with the most goals as a defender, and actually he's he could actually fall into the unsung hero category, because, as Robin mentioned in the call earlier, not many fans think he's actually playing well, but the stats don't say so. He's contributing to games both at the back and going forward as well. And I feel like, especially last season, he got a lot of stick from the Watford fans at times, and actually bringing Adam Messina into the club has just completely revamped his game.
Just pushed him on a little bit.
He's been a different player, really.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what they need.
So he's my most improved player so far. Goal of the season. So we've got a few candidates. Have you seen any of Watford's goals this season?
Have they played Leicester yet?
No, not yet.
So no, I haven't.
So we've got a few in there.
Of course I have.
So we've got a few in there. Right at the start of the season, the Carabao Cup, Domingos Quina versus Reading. He shifted onto his left foot and pinged it into the top right-hand corner.
I did see that.
That was phenomenal. Pereira's got 2 nominations against Huddersfield. The volley against Brighton.
Okay.
Sweet.
Jump the gun.
The only thing about that goal was that Matt Ryan got a touch, which kind of ruined it a little bit. But we've got to be harsh, Jake. We've got to be honest.
Look, you don't hand these awards out just for anything
exactly.
in anyone.
This is the Love Sport
Matt Ryan's got his hand
awards.
to it, mate. It's not him.
And Pereira versus Huddersfield. Granted, the defending was horrendous, but if Lionel Messi had scored that goal, we'd be raving on about for weeks.
But what about the scenes when Capoue scored in the Carabao Cup at MK Dons?
Goodness me. Went over a few rows as well.
I've thrown
limbs of the season.
It was. I spoke to you afterwards. It was limbs, and that was a good goal. That not mean made top 3?
No, just because it got a huge deflection. But for limbs, it's up there. But I'm going to go...
All right. Scenes of the season, that wins.
Scenes of the season, okay. Just because it gets former club.
Have we got drum rolls in the system somewhere? No, we haven't. So, it's fine. It's fine, I put him on the spot.
I'm going to give it to Domingos Quina. The reason why is because it's on his weaker foot. It's about 25 yards out. No one expected it. And just to nestle in the top right-hand corner. Watford even tweeted about it today because it was his birthday. Any reason to get that goal onto social media?
Too right.
Got to give it to him.
So... You've also done...
Unsung Hero.
So this is basically the better version of Most Improved, really.
And he's a friend of Richley. It's got to be Ben Foster in goal. Now,
how much of a difference has he made this year?
A massive difference. And the one thing that's been most noticeable is his distribution. The way he picks out Dini's and success up front, can ping it short, any sort of pass, long range, short range, medium range, he can do it. I also think he's brought a leadership at the back. Gomez had that, but to have someone who's been in the league for so long now, he's a veteran at the back, and to organise that defence as well, because you've got to remember Femini has only been in the Premier League one season, so it's good to have someone who can kind of guide him. Cathcart and Mariappa, 2 stalwarts at the back, and also Jose Holebas is a bit of a hot head, so to have Foster's a real calm leader at the back is really good, but also what he's bringing in terms of his goalkeeping, because there was a compilation that was released yesterday by Watford again of him making and saving so many points for us. And Aurelio Gomez has been a fantastic servant at Watford Football Club, but Foster is just more consistent and makes less mistakes and has been brilliant for us this season.
Are there any other awards?
So,
it's getting to the end of the night now.
Yeah.
I've done the top button. I've taken the tie off.
Rip it off. Individual performance of the season, you could argue Roberto Pereira against Brighton. Very good on the opening day of the season. I think there's been so many good individual performances, it's hard to pick out one, but that was the only other category I've got. So I was going to open that up to the callers. If they have an individual performance, let me know on my Twitter, and I'll mention it on the show.
So that was a nice link, nice seg.
I'm taking the job, Jake.
Learning from the best. Shane has tweeted in as well with some of his. Said player of the season right now. He says Ben Foster, but Capoue close. And young player of the year, Ben Wilmot, with an honourable mention to Queen, like you said.
Yeah, Ben Wilmot.
And just on Ben Foster, let's be honest, mate, I would have been an improvement on Aurelio Gomez.
You hate Aurelio Gomez, Jake.
I feel like I see him for what he is. A fraud.
He kind of falls into that Capoue category where...
No, that was harsh. I didn't mean that.
He kind of falls into that Capoue category because of what he's happened in the past. Everyone judges him on what he did at Tottenham.
Yeah.
But honestly, Aurelio Gomez, the amount of saves and points he clawed back for us.
Yeah.
Top man.
Okay, Peñaranda. What do you know about this man?
So, to the Venezuelan Watford fan, or Venezuelan Peñaranda fan, the situation is, so in the summer, Peñaranda returned from his loan spell. He attended pre-season. He was at the Austria. He was going to go to the Austria camp. However, he wasn't an issue with the work permit at the time. So this delayed his involvement with the first team. It wasn't. So Javi even admitted it. He's having trouble with his papers, are the exact words. And it was only on Wednesday that he finally received his visa and is now eligible to play in the first team, which is brilliant news because we haven't seen any of Peñaranda. He's been on loan at Granada, Udinese and Malaga since we bought him from Udinese, obviously owned by the Pozzos as well. 45 appearances for all those 3 clubs, scoring 5 goals. He's a striker and a winger, so that's not too promising. However, he's young. He's been touted by a lot of European clubs, and Watford always seem to produce when getting those sort of players.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping with the right environment, like Richarlison evolved at Watford, we can maybe see the best of him. And I just think it's good to hopefully see him in the Watford shirt this season. I think it will be unlikely, but maybe in the FA Cup we might get a chance to see him.
So even though you've never seen him play, do you think that he could be the answer to your prayers?
No, he won't be the answer to my prayers because I'm not religious. But
or your dreams?
Yeah, all my dreams.
Do you have dreams?
I do have dreams.
Okay,
I do have dreams. Just banging it in front of the rookery.
Don't tell the story that's in your head.
Sorry, yeah. One thing I'd say about Peñaranda is I saw him in the Under-20 World Cup when England went really far, and he played for Venezuela, and he was one of the best players in the tournament, and the commentators were raving about him. He was cutting onto his right foot. He was a real danger for them up front, and caused the England defence a lot of problems. Having said that, it's Under-20s level, the defences are pretty weak, so we're going to have to see him in a Watford shirt for me to fully judge his ability.
Okay, another tweet in on our Player of the Season awards. Goal of the season, Pereira versus Wolves. And
oh, yeah.
Yeah? So this is the thing, mate.
I mean, I'll tell you
you've
the one...
clearly been blessed with good goals this year.
God, I've actually forgotten half of them because they've been so good. But the one thing about the Pereira's goal against Wolves is the way he teed up on his left foot and deliberately...
It was a good goal.
And outside of the
great game.
Oh. And it was straight off the restart.
Does that count for anything, the quality of the game?
Yeah, I think that could be a winner. I think that could be a winner just because of the standard of the game as well. Straight off the kickoff.
Most improved maps.
No, I don't agree with that.
No?
I stick with Holebas for that one.
So, the goal of the season, might have to scrap this whole thing and start all over again.
There's a lot of nominees, I have to say that, Jake.
Love Foot Radio, the Watford fan show, Jake and Jacob. What duo? Jake and Jacob.
Good ring to that.
Love that. A little jig.
Funky tune.
It is a funky tune. Jacob on for another 13 minutes. Had some tweets in for our Player of the Season awards. We like to celebrate early here at Love Sport. We've jumped the gun. It's what we do. We're having a great night. So, Player of the Season, Aaron has given to Capoue. Goal of the Season has given to Quina. Young Player of the Season to Wilmot. Most Improved Holebas. And Unsung Hero, Success.
Ooh. Yeah, no, I agree with Aaron pretty much every single one there. Success is a great shout.
This feature has been a great success.
Oh, it has been a great success.
Let's do it next international break. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. So, look, it is a little bit of a break here. We spoke about your fixtures before this break. It's been 7 points from 5. It's by no means dreadful. You're still sitting very nicely in the Premier League. Still above Man United.
7th, 20 points. And I was saying, Tim was moaning there, but he had a point. Like, if we had kind of ironed out those inconsistencies, we can maybe be 5th or even 4th, just with the way we've been playing.
And that's something I've brought up as well before with Andy when he's here and various other callers. Whilst it's good, whilst we're happy with where we are, it surely must be a little bit frustrating because we spoke about, jumps to my mind the Arsenal game where you should have got points from that game, that the Southampton one where you were perhaps unfortunate not to get more, and there are other games where we've sat here, the Newcastle game, and said we should have got more from that, but we don't seem too annoyed by it because of where we are in the table, when actually I want Watford to be a bit more angry about it and not to accept the draws and to say, oh, it's okay, we've got 20 points, we'll go again next week, when actually if we've just been a little bit more ruthless and taken those chances and been a bit more clinical, you could actually be even higher.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point, I think.
And chances like that in the Premier League don't come around every season. Obviously, we've seen, rare anomalies, where teams have finished incredibly high. I feel that Watford have got an opportunity to be one of them this year, but they're not quite taking it at the moment. They're just falling short.
Yeah. I mean, the league position doesn't lie. Us and Bournemouth are probably two of the best teams at the minute outside the top six. Yeah. But as you said, there's been performances this season where it's been quite frustrating. The Huddersfield one just sticks out to me.
Yeah.
The Southampton one, again, I feel frustrated because I felt, particularly the last 20 minutes, Southampton's backs were against the wall. We were absolutely battering them, and the second goal was coming. Mariappa hit the bar from a corner, and it could have been a different game. We could be sitting here with 23 points. So just little things haven't gone our way, but at the same time, you can't be too frustrated because if you look down the table, I would not want to be Cardiff, Newcastle, teams, Southampton, another one, teams that are just not performing this season. We've played well, but there's still a little bit of a side to me that's thinking, and Tim said it as well. What if? And also, is the slump going to come like it did last year? I think Andy always says it on the show, if Silva had stayed, I think we would have got 7th instead of Burnley.
Yeah.
And that's just hypothetical, but we don't want that to happen again, and we don't want that to be repeated. So it is really, really important that we don't have a Christmas slump. And looking at the games ahead, Liverpool, Leicester, Man City, Everton.
How do you look at them? Because you've tended actually to play pretty well against the top sides this season, but I mean, most people would look at them on paper and say you're unlikely to get much points from them. Are you confident, or are you a little bit kind of like, well, we'll just see what happens?
I think my frustration kind of stems that the fact that we didn't get more from the Newcastle Southampton games because of the run we do have.
Yeah.
And you're looking at Liverpool and you're thinking, unlikely, max a point, Leicester away.
That's a tough one, mate.
And I think that's a tough game. I really do think that. I think Manchester City at home will be, again, another tough ask. Everton away, we should be looking at all 3 points. I think we've got to go there and
I think they're clicking. I think they're clicking.
Yeah, they are clicking, but it would be nice to get one over Marco Silva and Richarlison.
Of course.
Cardiff at home has to be 3 points, and West Ham away, I probably would take a point at West Ham because they're again like Everton. You don't know what you're going to get, so it's a tough one. I think we need to be getting points out of Leicester, Everton, Cardiff and West Ham. Liverpool, Man City, people say 3 hits, but I think we can do more than that, but it's going to be a tough.
Yeah, well, the home games, so why not?
Yeah, that's the benefit. We look at Chelsea last year, and I was speaking to Ben in the office and kind of gloating about it, but we turned up that day and really, really put in a good performance. So if we could do the same against Liverpool and Manchester City under the lights of Vicarage Road and make it a fortress like we did against Spurs, then there's a real chance that we can get something out of the game.
We'll kind of rewind a little bit to that Southampton game. Since then, you roll your eyes. It was an eventful one. I'm sure you tried to forget about it. Charlie Austin hasn't been fined. Views on that? Do you think he should have been?
I'm all for players coming out and speaking openly. Troy Deeney is probably the main man to do that. The amount of times he's come out in interviews and
he's been fined, hasn't he?
I think he has on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, he definitely hasn't got away with it every time.
No, not every time. I think if it's towards the referee, it should be. If a manager had done it, he would be fine. So why is it different with the player? I agree with the honesty, and I'm all for players coming out and not giving the same media answers. Oh yeah, it was a great game. Unfortunately, this happened, that happened. But being honest and fair play to him. However, it was so one-sided. It was completely biased. We should have had a penalty at the other end, and he's just frustrated that his goal didn't count because he knows one won't be coming anytime soon. To be completely honest, so I think he has to be a little bit more two-sided. But I mean, I think Andy mentioned last week how Mark Hughes and the press officer hasn't taken him aside and said, "Charlie, we're not getting you on getting you on TV after that." I just didn't really understand it, but yeah, he has to be fine if he's going to be aggressive towards the referees.
And as a direct result, Charlie Austin has single-handedly brought in VAR to the start of next season. It's what he asked for, and just a few days later, the Premier League announced it's going to be in from the start of next season. Is that a good thing?
I think it is a good thing. However, the mistakes have to be ironed out from the World Cup. It was not fair for a referee in front of 80,000 people to be looking at a small screen, sweating. It's a really intense atmosphere, and he has to make the decision. It should be left to someone upstairs who's got a soundproof box.
Yep.
Just focusing on that, press the red button if you think it's wrong, green if you think it's right. It should be simple. We shouldn't be overcomplicating the VAR. It's not that difficult, and it has to be quicker as well. It's not fair on the fans inside the ground to be waiting for 2-3 minutes for a decision to be made. The mistakes have to be ironed out, but I'm all for video technology.
Jadon Sancho, heavily involved in England, the last couple of international squads, started out at Watford.
What a player. He's a brilliant impact.
A little bit gutted, or not, kind of, because you never really saw him. He was never really involved in the team. He never felt like one of yours.
Yeah, it was always going to be unlikely when Manchester City come calling, especially with the money they had at the time. I think it was 2016, 2015. Jadon was always going to move on. But you could look at a lot of players. I mean, Harry Kane was at Watford for a bit. Jadon Sancho. There are loads of players that started off at Watford and were in the academy. I just think it's a bit frustrating that we can't keep hold onto these assets. But what we're doing instead is going out to Brazil and going out to South America and finding talent, and they want to come to Watford and play at Watford. Whereas the English talents are getting snapped up by the bigger clubs. But I was reading about Jadon Sancho. Apparently he did get an offer from Tottenham, but Manchester City didn't want to sell him to Spurs, so he went to Borussia Dortmund. So it's quite interesting to see how English clubs are so protective over their assets. They don't want to be selling to other Premier League clubs. They have to go abroad, and it is frustrating that we didn't get a lot from Jadon Sancho, if anything, but we got a decent fee for him, I think.
Had you heard of Jadon before he'd gone? Was there rumours of this incredible talent in your academy system?
Yeah, there were rumours that there was something a little bit different in the academy.
Yeah.
How good, I didn't really know, but I'd seen videos of him and he looked a real talent. And when he moved to Manchester City, it was massive news for all youth football to see someone go from Watford at the age of 16 and move to Manchester City, and it was a brilliant move for him, and I don't hold it against him. But yeah, it is a bit frustrating that we can't bring a player like him through, because I'm sure he would have got first team football.
Had a tweet in, though not sure if he's listening to the right show. Says player of the season Idrissa Gueye, goals of the season Sigurdsson versus Leicester, young player of Richarlison, most improved Michael Keane. Are we doing Everton or Watford? I'm not sure I asked for that.
I think I know why. It's because we played Z-Cars at the start. They might have got the show mixed up. Both had the same intro song. Yeah,
and then for the last 55 minutes we've been talking non-stop Marco Silva. But anyway, I really appreciate the tweet.
Thanks, mate.
So, Liverpool, let's get your score predictions, and how do you want Harry to go about this game?
Right, revert back to 4-4-2, as I mentioned, to Robin.
Who's up front?
Success and Deeney. Has to bring Deeney back in, I think. Delafeu isn't working up top.
So does he stay in the team, just pushed out wide, or go to the bench?
Hughes picked up a knock at Southampton. I think Delafeu should play on the right. He's a fantastic player. Once he's one-on-one with the left back, he's always a threat. I think Success, Deeney up front. I'd go with Pereira on the left, poor against Southampton, but continue with him. Pereira on the left, Delafeu on the right, Doucouré and Capoue in the middle, Holebas at left back, Kiko at right back. This is the dilemma, Jake. Do you either go Kabasele...
Sure we've got time for this.
Kabasele, Mariap or Cathcart? I'd go for Mariap and Cathcart and then Foster in goal. But yeah, a big game ahead at Liverpool, and hopefully we can maybe nick a draw.
Score draw, 0-0, exciting draw. I think it's got to be.
Optimistic, 2-2, negative 3-1, Liverpool.
All right. Well, Jacob, that is your lot. It's been a pleasure having you with me in the studio this evening. I think the Jacob team can come back again, and we'll see how your player of the season votes do later on. Mate, have a wonderful week, and I'll see you later.